Hello. Hello, and thank you for joining us tonight for our final celebration event of the year, brought to you by the Writers' Block, WOW's online dedicated writing centre, which was a fantastic initiative developed in the midst of lockdown to help us keep creative and connected. I'm Madeline Hennigan, one of the co-directors of Writing on the Wall, and tonight it's my pleasure to be able to share with you some of the outstanding work that has been produced during our Time to Breathe project. Project has been led by the inimitable Sheryl Martin, and Time to Breathe is a creative response to the Black Lives Matter movement. It's a writing development project designed to give a space to those who experience racism, a space to discuss and to write about race issues at a time that was both inspiring in terms of the Black Lives Matter movement, but difficult too in terms of lockdown and difficult in terms of some of the discussions and memories that talk of racism brings back to us. With the Black Lives Matter protest, what we've seen is that Black history, Black experiences and stories have begun to come to the fore after years really of marginalisation and invisibility. I don't know if you've all been watching Steve McQueen's Small Axe series, and that is a great example of the power and the popularity of Black artistic production right now. And these personal and political stories have to be told, and they have a role to play in highlighting the racial disparity that still exists in employment, in housing, in education, in health, as we've seen starkly with COVID, or in describing the personal humiliation of being stopped and searched when in London, young Black men are 19 times more likely to be stopped than their white counterparts. So at the same time as there's been a greater willingness to talk about race, and in some sectors, genuine attempts to tackle the persistence of racism, there's also been a backlash to anti-racism and in some cases a capitulation to racist bigotry. This was demonstrated recently by the actions of Millwall Football Club, which prevented its players from taking a knee after a section of their supporters booed the taking of the knee. This situation was described and analysed by Emmy Onyora, who's one of our readers tonight, who wrote about it brilliantly in The Guardian. If you haven't checked that article out, please do so. But on a positive note, we've seen the power of campaigning. Recently, in the last few days, we've had the government's promise to radically reform the Windrush compensation scheme. And I can hear you all saying, well, yeah, they should be doing that. So let's see how that unpans. But that wouldn't have happened without the fantastic campaign that there's been around the Windrush generation and the Windrush scandal. So Writing on the Wall, we firmly believe that the arts have got a role to play in such campaigns for racial justice. And the work produced during Time to Breathe is an important part of the discourse on race and anti-racism, not just here in Liverpool, but nationally and internationally. And I've no doubt that when the book comes out, the book from the project comes out early next year, it will be recognised as an important text within anti-racism. I was fortunate to be able to take part in some of the sessions, some of the weekly sessions led by Sheryl Martin. And not only did she give us time to breathe, but she gave us time to write, and she inspired us and supported us along the way. Cheryl's going to give her reflections on Time to Breathe. She's also going to give us a reading of her own work. So let me introduce you to Sheryl. She's an award-winning writer and performer. She is the co-artistic director of Manchester's Black Gold Arts Festival and the acting co-artistic director of Common Words, also in Manchester, and long-time partners of Writing on the Wall. Sheryl's got a long history in Liverpool. She was a Black literature development worker at our home in Toxteth Library in the early 90s. And she's worked with Eclipse, a Black theatre company, 20 Stories High as well. And she's worked with WOW on a number of projects over the years. So could you give a big virtual welcome, please, to Sheryl Martin?
Hi, everybody. I'm really happy to be able to be here tonight and, share this work that was created over the summer. It was over 3 months that people, came to this course week in, week out. And I've had a lot of time to think about the course and what it meant since we did it. First, I have to, give a tribute to all the writers because, as Madeline said, reliving the trauma that some of them had gone through in terms of racism, was actually extremely difficult. And we did lose a couple of people who were overwhelmed by those feelings, but the majority were able to hang in there and support each other and share with each other not only the writing but those experiences. And what it seemed to me is that some people were reliving some of those things for the first time. And the thing about having a course like Time to Breathe, where everybody was, basically Black, Brown, or East Asian, meant that you had people who actually understood what you were talking about, and it obviously allowed some people to flower, and you could see that they went deeper and deeper into their feelings and were able to write better and better week in and week out. I don't know what else to say except to say that I was pretty humbled to be witness to that. It also made me realize that what a lot of us do, Black and Brown and East Asian people, to get through everyday racism is that we tend to ignore it and damp that down because you can't erupt at every single thing that's actually offensive, or you do nothing else with your life. And it just made me realize what kind of burden we're actually carrying, and that when you do think about it, it can feel overwhelming. But the thing about Time to Breathe and the writing that people produced is that it's a testimony to how you can overcome, because I tried to include Black joy as well as the hard things as part of the course. And I couldn't have been prouder of what people wrote, and I've been bragging about them everywhere ever since the course was over. So I'm really happy that you're going to be able to hear them tonight. I wanted to read one of my own pieces that I wrote in a workshop that someone else gave over the summer, and that has a lot to do with what we talked about in Time to Breathe. And this poem is called Only for a Short While, and it's going to be published soon by Speaking Volumes down in London. Oh, only for so short a while you have loaned us to each other, because we take form in your act of drawing us, and we take life in your painting us, and we breathe in your singing us. But only for so short a while have you loaned us to each other, because even a drawing cut in obsidian fades, and the green feathers, the crown feathers of the quetzal bird lose their color, and even the sounds of the waterfall die out in the dry season. So we too, because only for a short while have you loaned us to each other. An Aztec prayer. Only for a short while we are loaned to each other. We never see each other as we are. We never know each other as we are. We can only see reflections of ourselves in each other's eyes. We can only hear echoes of our own voices inside our heads. never the voice another hears, never the face another sees, never the life another lives. We never show each other our lives in full, for fear we're afraid our own sadness will engulf you, and we love you, so we want to spare you that. We never tell each other of the father nearly tarred and feathered, of the universities our uncles and aunts couldn't enter, of the brother who was lynched, of the illegitimate children hidden in plain sight, of the abandonments and betrayals that gave birth to them, of growing up black hillbillies with loads of books, smart, viper-tongued and beautiful, minds so sharp outsiders can only be cut to pieces. That's what outsiders are for. You passed it all down to us. The infallible eye for the expensive, the unquenchable ambition, the expansive intellects. Smart, viper tongues and beautiful. Marching through Cambridge and Princeton and Yale. We are the future our great-grandparents couldn't even dream of. Not the indigenous, not the immigrant, not colonizer nor the colonized, not the Native American slavers or the East Coast slaves. We are the future they never knew could happen. We are the distillation of all their longing, the brilliant generation, crystallized perfection, lawyers and chemists and poets and artists and playwrights, a single civil servant, a nod to the uncles and aunts, teachers and accountants. We are what they wished for, and I love them. Mother, grandmother, uncles, aunts. So I never tell them all the pretty prizes, all the successes, the degrees, the commissions, the scholarships, the productions, the films, the books, the every fucking thing. Glittering mirages for someone else's life. Unreal. I know how that would make them feel, so I never say it. Because we are only loaned to each other for such a short while. So why not make them smile? I would not live this life again. That's what I can never tell them. And I wrote that because the whole thing this summer just brought back sort of what the generations, they call it intergenerational trauma, what you don't tell each other to try to make each other's lives feel easier. So that's me. And now we're going to go on to our wonderful writers from Time to Breathe. And the very first writer I want to introduce you to is Patrick Graham. Born of Jamaican parentage, Patrick Graham is a UK-born, Liverpool-based poet, writer, actor, and workshop facilitator of creative writing, drama, and Black history under the logo of Blackout Productions, and inspired greatly by Writing on the Wall writing courses. Patrick.
Okay, thank you for that introduction. My first poem of three is An Object from My Room and What It Reveals to Me. My object I have picked is a pyramid. We have all seen these things that are famed in ancient Egypt. It reveals to me a number of things. They were built at a time the earth had some of its greatest kings, not forgetting they had Hatshepsut, maybe their greatest queen, who commissioned magnificent structures. Hers were still there to be seen. A time when the human was at their very best. They still outdo modern man when it comes to this test. Buildings and structures that were unable to replicate, created so long ago, we're not even sure of the correct date. To bury the dead, is that what they were for? Or to honor the night sky and the wonders that they saw? Rooms and chambers inside and tunnels below their base, crafted at a time when it was the most splendid for your eyes to behold and to grace. Modern man who is ruled by the powers of Eurocentric politics ridicules those who say the builders were black and calls them romantics. European history actually recorded who these people actually were. Black as the soil of the ground, they said, even held them in high revere. What I see that is so positive and cultural, technologically revealing to the racist power who knows the truth, this history they keep on concealing. Don't let them make you disbelieve and be full of doubt. Teach it, talk it, share it, and stop them from blacking it out. Tell all about Black history, which they wish to keep it hidden and confine it to a mere mystery. The second one goes out to all the old school. It's called Bad Times, I Can't Stand It, a tribute. Bad Times by Captain Rap. Oh, what a classic from the days of the great band Zach. It takes you through the times that we are living. Wrote in the year of 1983, its lyrics still relevant for all to see. Some lines with a message that is so clear. Why the courts are saying, son, we told you so. You're a menace to society, a threat and danger. We sentenced you to die, to death, a gas chamber. The man said you can't take a life for a life. The only real judge is the Almighty Christ. The song has stood the test of time year after year. So sad that its message is so strong and still so clear. The world threatened by nuclear war. These are not just the things of the past that we saw. These things are part of today's reality. World leaders so crazy and full of insanity. Some lines with a message that is so clear. You pull out a knife and you cut her real tough. She was murdered on the street, short of time. Another little old lady, a victim of crime. Bad times. These are for real bad times is what you and I feel. This is a classic rap from the days of my youth. Sneaking into nightclubs, listening to music that taught you the truth. Soul and rap so sweet to hear, it made your life complete. But today artists spilling out crap that makes so many follow like sheep. Today so much music is destroying lives, it's painful, makes you want to cry. Bad influence making so many commit crime and others it sends them to die. This ain't no joke or a news hump, because this is no rerun, as this time it's about Boris and Trump. Some lines with a message that is so clear. Reagan reached Reagan Camp David Accord, and they say Reagan will run at 84. Bad education is just a revelation, but each year the kids regretting graduation. Messages about worldwide fear from the 80s long ago. Will we heed them, or do we allow our governments to make it so? Many rappers turn by the Lord of rags to riches, not celebrating kings and queens, basically calling their mothers hoes and bitches. A world ravaged by corruption and abuse. Many a life ruined by thugs and drug abuse. Hard to get a job to make a living. We've got so many people doing wrong, and our youths they are killing. Some lines with a message that is so clear. The third world sends out a hunger plea. Teenagers running loose, sexual child abuse. The Bible tells us it's just a prophecy. Bad times. These are for real. Bad times is what you and I feel. Step up, people. We've got to stay woke. We've got to fix the world because it's far too broke. Bad times, serious lines and serious rhymes. Without a doubt, brothers and sisters, peace out. This last one is called I Looked Down the Line and I Wondered. I looked down the line and I wondered about how quick the line will move today. Yesterday and the whole week before were not good days for some, as despite the best efforts of the Black Panther Movement's food program, they were not able to feed everyone. People went hungry, men, women, and worst of all, the children. I could hear the pain of mothers and fathers as they walked away, trying their best to explain to a 6-year-old, a 5-year-old, a 4-year-old, teenagers, twins, brothers and sisters, that they were not going to eat that evening. Many of the faces were etched deeply with the lines and marks of worry of once beautiful, pious, and gracefully looking learned faces, now reduced to the look of hopelessness, mixed with that small amount of hope. That hope was to keep them going each morning, keep them going just enough to know that they had to do better, that they had to find a way out, that they must find a way out of having to stand in this line each day. But in order to do that, they needed to be able to find work. We all knew that due to segregation having only ended on paper, that in practice we were still denied the dignity of being able to work and earn a decent living which allowed us to survive. Right now, all we did was exist. The thought of survival seemed somewhat a luxury, and to live, well, that was just part of the American dream, which we knew all too well was a living nightmare for Black folks. If you were fortunate enough to live that dream, there was always that downside and terrible reality of having to wake up in the morning and face the cold and stark reality of life in Oakland, which not many having jobs and an income worthy of our humanity. Segregation was over some 5 years now. Malcolm was murdered some 4 years ago, and it was a year to the day that they murdered Martin too. However, today things are looking up, as although we were last in that line, my worry was over, and we were able to get food today. At least we knew we had a good meal to look forward to. We did know, and we never forget, that it's been a long struggle, and there will be many a year left still of this struggle before we'll be able to not only taste good food, but truly taste freedom. One day there'll be one death too many, and Black people will say, enough is enough. And I will welcome that day, And I hope if not, but my children will live to see it happen. It could be tomorrow, it could be next week, or it could be next year. Maybe we'll have to wait over 50 years, but that day will come. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick, for kicking us off so well and, with such an imaginative journey. I would talk more, but I don't want to cut into other people's time. So I'm going to introduce a video by Rose Thomas. Rose Thomas. The course inspired Rose to address issues which might have been forgotten by relevant parties. And so now I hope you can enjoy her video.
Hello, my name is Rose Thomas. I'd like to read you something very close to my heart. I looked down the line and wondered why I put my daughter in hands that could not be trusted. If I had known a doctor performing the autopsy referred to my child's origin as Negro, if I had known the attending doctor held a limited license to practice, if I had known his middle name was not the name on his license, if I had known the doctor gained his full license to practice in 1988, my daughter died in 1984. If I had known another middle name was recorded in the coroner's court. If I had known by the coroner's notes of 1984, he did not tell the jury of the doctor's status. If I had known the doctor in a white coat was not qualified to assess my daughter's medical condition. If I had known the 1983 Medical Act stipulates certain conditions of a limited license, my child died as the result of the doctor's actions. If I had known the Liverpool Health Authority and all who assisted them protected each other when mistakes came to light. If I had known, I would never have trusted them. If I had known in 2013, only 2 doctors out of 25,000 doctors in England and Wales with the same surname could be found. If I had known in 2013, the GMC would tell me they could not find the doctor on their register. If I had known Alder Hay would take the same stance and a doctor by the name given could not be found in the hospital records. If I had known, I would have to search for the doctor in the Liverpool University and present my findings to the GMC. Still, they were unable to find the doctor on their register. If I had known, I would have to investigate further and present my findings. Eventually, the doctor was found. The GMC refused to investigate. If I had known it would take 40 months of email and phone call conversations to reach this stage, I would never have believed it. If I had known it would take 34 years to receive an apology from Alder Hay Hospital. If I had known having no access to legal aid would stop me from taking matters further. If I had known the current coroner of Liverpool would say in his report of 2019, it is unclear when the doctor arrived in this country. If I had known the coroner in 2019 could not give a record of the doctor's qualifications. If I had known in 2019 the Attorney General, on receiving all the digital and paper evidence, declined to grant permission for me to apply to the High Court with my concerns. All that I could have known, all that I should have known. I still look down the line. I will keep fighting for justice for my Erica. Ignorance is no excuse for the law, I'm sure was said by someone with a law degree. Thank you.
Thank you, Rose, for what is still an astonishingly hard-hitting and emotional poem, taken obviously from real life. Um, it's that one gets me every time I hear it. So thanks again for that wonderful poem and that sad poem. Okay, so we're going to move on to our next reader, and that is Farah Foxall. Farah, a Filipino born in Tehran, grew up in the Philippines, now lives in Liverpool, and enjoys reading, writing, performing, and the arts, plus cooking and baking. And she's experienced racism, thus joined the course, and had fought with cancer, now in remission, and hoping to be cancer-free next year. Thank you. Now, Farah.
Hi, thank you, Cheryl, and thank you to Writing on the Wall for this great opportunity once more. So, I'll be reading a few lines from some of my work, so here it goes. The first one is Earl's Court Station. Whenever I happen to be in London, Earl's Court Station is always calling to me. While on the train, I'm able to spot some of my fellow Filipinos, and I know that we're all getting off at Earl's Court. As soon as I make my way out of the station, I know that I'm just a few steps away from the Filipino shops, Filipino restaurants, and of course, Jollibee. I feel really more like I'm in the Philippines again, like it feels complete. It's like my little piece of familiar place away from my homeland. The second one, or the last one that I'll be reading, is Humanity. And this is inspired from a song and from the events that had happened and has currently happened. So here it goes. People killing, people dying. How many more murders are we going to hear? To witness? I don't want to see any more innocent people being shot. I don't want to see any more planes crashing into buildings. I don't want to see any more people jumping out of high windows because the building is on fire. Like, that's so sad, man. To choose how your life's gonna end, to be burned alive or to stay away from the fire and just jump. It's so sad. I don't want to hear anymore about trains, restaurants, or any other places being bombed. How sick is that? To arm and then sacrifice yourself just for the sake of some sick teachings, just for the sake of a leader of a group who believes that this is the only way. I don't want to hear anymore about people being choked to death by a knee. Is it even necessary to do that? To put all of your weight on that person when he's not fighting at all? Just please, enough. Can we all just get along? That's all, and thank you.
Thank you, Farah. That first poem about Earl's Court was one of our favorites from the whole course, because of the way that it evoked that taste of home when you're far, far away. And second poem again is a strong testimony, which you'll find throughout Time to Breathe, of what people are going through and what people want to escape or want to see end, so that we can have a better time, a better future to look forward to. Our next writer is Nat Denny. And Natalie Denny is a writer and activist from Liverpool. She is director of Skywriters, a creative education and training initiative that supports development of people, communities, and organizations. Natalie really enjoyed the course, mainly exploring themes around race and working with the wonderful group, which was Time to Breathe, to produce new pieces of writing. So take it away, Nat.
Hi. I just want to say thank you to Writing on the Wall, as well as Sheryl and the participants on the Time to Breathe course who supported each other throughout this process. I'm going to read 3 of my poems. The first one is called Dear Luna. Dear Luna, your name touches star stuff, shimmering in kissing light. I think of the white matter around you, around us, while your face glitters, a beacon in our missing nights. I want to weave you a world out of your eyelashes, the music in your skin, your magic that makes and breaks us. Somewhere, anywhere that isn't here. I pray to all the gods I don't believe in. Deities spill over my lips, splashing my cheeks and drenching my path to you. Of course I slip. It's by design. Brianna, Sarah, Philando, George. Did the village hold them? Pour their dreams into half-cocked ears, breathe wonder into midnight eyes, rub coconut oil onto their sun-grey skin, confess to them that they had never known such love until their Earth Day. They know what it is to break a heart. To hold such light and be deprived is to die countless times. When kneeling stole his breath, I fell apart. In forced duvet days, bones of molten lead, eyes stripped and acidic. Crying oceans of blood congealed for icy feet to stand on. Despair can go for days without a morsel. I look at you, 5 months of joy, thriving through a Gemini pandemic. Eyes as old as redwoods, a homage to Mother Earth. Hope is always hungry, so I rise. I smiled at you, my little moon, and you smiled back. The second poem I'm going to read is called Beacon. My beacon is a triad, a holy trinity, to preserve the wonder and the tempest that is me. The first fork is a warning, a cautionary prong. My tongue dissolves you, full of razors and ancestor songs. Sarcasm drips and stains where it lands. My saliva burns holes in your hands, and your devil's advocate, and your all lives mess. You will taste blood on your white sheet dress. Metallic and seaworthy slick, I run my circles, my mouth around you like a well-oiled ship. Heed my omen or face the whip. Your lashings plenty, your scar tissue thick. The second prong is a signal, a gesture of love from him. Hands raised in cradles for my slumber to begin. It's a pact as old as the mountains, a tale as old as time. Boy meets girl, and he becomes mine. It's a refuge to escape to when the world rivals my storm. My head on his chest, whispering words we both sworn. Home is not a place, home is in his face. A signal to me, a light to my base. The third prong is a celebration, my sisters in our skin. We bond on as goddesses do in holy melanin. We laugh and sing and twerk and love, so joyous in our flight. We celebrate each other, we multiply our light. My beacon is a triad, a holy trinity, to preserve the wonder and the tempest that is me. My final poem is called We Are Our Ancestors' Wildest Dreams. Each step is a little further, each generation stays their hands. We rise from dust, from ash and bone, to reclaim and rebuild our lands. When all seems lost, pointless and bleak, please remember this. We are our ancestors' wildest dreams. This is why we speak. Thank you.
Thank you, Nat. Okay, I hope everybody can hear me. Thank you, Nat. Again, both the sadness that we all felt during the summer and also the joy in Luna and your sister's celebrations and the wonder and the tempest that is you. So many good lines. Thank you again. I'm really enjoying rehearing these poems. Our next bit is another film, and this is from Franklin Amose and Kube Dawson, who is a 28-year-old storyteller and creative. Since being on the course, Franklin has opened up and written about experiences surrounding trauma, and they hope to continue writing from this experience.
Hi everybody, my name is Franklin Amosi Nwove Dawson, and for you today I am going to be reading Open Letter to Love as a part of Writing on the Walls Black History Month Festival. Here goes. I wish I was lovable. I wish I could stomach being vulnerable. Strength and courage easy to master. A natural state, easy for me to operate from. I see loving queer couples walking down streets, not being brave or courageous, but being vulnerable, wearing love with ease. I often wonder, why can't it be me? Sexual abuse to sexual brutality to discomfort performing my sexuality. Avenues blurring into highways, walking lonely is the predictable. Running away is unexceptional. Just so broken, there are no words anymore. There is nothing left to say. I don't know if vulnerable would look good on me. It's easy to drag skeletons out the closet when your version of problems is standardized and codified. Would I be attractive to you if I told you I only started finding comfort when I met you? Would I be sexy if I started crying out my indoctrination in front of you? Would I be lovable if I showed up as my authentic self and decided to take down your whitewashing vessels? Will your whiteness ready to appropriate my culture choke me? Do I need to be the creme, not the milk, for you to see interest in me? Does my African beat need to be silenced, abandoned to be fashionably and celebrated in queer? Do I have to burn my blackness to the ground so that I can sit at your Sunday brunch tables and converse with you? How would you react if I pulled you away and asked you to cast your sensual violence to the side, put your rehearsed performance and have sex with me, like sex isn't shame? What if I asked you to be open with me? Introduce me to your mother and your father with respect, not shame. Would you affront your rebuttal with black masculinity? If I said romance me in front of all these people, would you be uncomfortable or would you act accordingly? I don't think it can happen. I don't think that I can do it too. Love is a lot more complicated. Your attraction is secondary. Love, unfortunately, political. I'll continue to dance from loneliness to alone.
Such a wonderful performance from Franklin there, week after week. He had us laughing at situations where you think it would be very hard to find any humour at all, but Franklin found it. Sheryl she's a busy woman. She has another engagement tonight, another event. So I am going to be taking over, introducing the remaining writers who are going to read tonight. But I'd just like to take this opportunity on behalf of all of the group to thank Sheryl for her guidance, for her support, for the hard work that she put into keeping us writing and keeping us on track. Yeah, she's been a brilliant mentor and a great inspiration. So thank you very much, Sheryl, and we hope to see you soon in the new year when we'll be celebrating the publication of Time to Breathe. Next up, we have Thorne Paisley Mills. Thorne has lived in Liverpool for 20 years. She's originally from Leeds, where she studied fashion design for 3 years. She has 5 children and has been writing since she was 9 years old. She loves to write children's stories with illustrations included, poetry about racism and injustice in the legal and court system. Over to you, Dawn. Have we lost Dawn? No, there she is.
Hi, my name is Dawn Paisley Mills, and first of all, I'd just like to say thanks to WOW, who are writing on the wall, for giving me this opportunity to air my voice and let the people hear what I have to say. I'd also like to say thank you to Sheryl Martin as well, for her guidance throughout the course, the Time to Breathe course. I'm going to read a piece from a book that I'm going to be working on that's going to come out, and this one is called They Push It. I was arrested and they put me in a van. 4 police surrounded me, it takes 1 man. I don't believe there was no need, but yes, they can. No one takes the pressure pour just like I can. No one takes the arrows aimed at me more than they push it. Now the social worker's lying like a snake, selling kids to see the money that they make. I'm fighting 3 years in a row for goodness sakes, just to see how much misconduct I can take. When they try to mess with me, it's their mistake, they push it. Are you listening to every word I say? They take the piss and live in bliss, it's not okay. They take the kids and push the mothers far away. I told the bitches I'm the mum who's here to stay. My kids are missing, still I'm coping day to day. They push it. Now my legal team are fighting like a bitch. I give them lip and crack the whip, look for the switch. I give them news and air my views and selling pitch. The kids are crying, tears lined up just like a stitch. And who's the enemy? I'm wondering which is which. They push it. Now the judge, he holds a grudge, he's a prick. He's a disgrace, he hates my race, fetch me a stick. Just go to hell, get me a belt 10 inches thick. Now let me show you how I deal with Weasel Dick. I walk the line, I change my mind, get me a brick. They push it. Now my legal team are failing in the court. And the crooks don't give 2 fucks at fake reports. It's how the money's made, it's how they're fucking taught. And your honor's simply sipping on some port. Can't turn away, I am their prey, the one they caught. I am the one, they're having fun, they ain't my sort. They push it. Now I ask my legal team who is the boss. Is it you or them, but they don't give a toss. They frustrate me and my words are far from crossed. They make their money even if it is a loss. And I could strangle them with fucking dental floss. Just like a rolling stone, they're gathering no moss. They try to paint it, but the pricks ain't using gloss. They push it. Now the judge, he looks at me and cuts the chase. This is a man, I know he cannot stand my race. I stare defiantly right back into his face. He destroys and he enjoys, prolongs the case. I really want to spray this ball prick with some mace and give this court crook something more than just a taste. They push it. Now my legal team are leaving stones unturned, and I'm the one that keeps on getting fucking burned. And as my case just gets adjourned and twisted and turned, more fake reports and back to court, I am returned. This is how the system works, it's what I've learned. Still they push it. They spend my money on their mortgages and crews. I'm seeing red because I've nothing left to lose. But they are guilty of prolonging child abuse. They nearly killed my child, point fingers and accuse. They planned a cover up, I stopped them, I refuse. Let's lie in court, let's plot and implement a ruse. Evil walks around in ones and fucking twos. Their skin is white, they walk away without a bruise. They tried to hang me by the neck, apply the noose. Let's tell the judge this one's got a fucking screw loose. Still they push it. Sorry. God bless the mothers who have fallen by the side. They've gone to hell and back and almost fucking died. No one fights that hard, at least they fucking tried. They're facing many wars and faced the one that lied. And I'm the one who knows the reason why they cried. I salute you, keep the fight and don't you hide. They push it. And the poor mums, they have had all they can take. Get the wrong judge eating ice cream, eating cake. Get the wrong judge drinking champagne, eating snake. Get the wrong judge and the outcome is a fake. Get the wrong judge, they are all in on the take. They push it. I know their legal team have sold them money talks. I know their legal team who stabbed with knife and forks. I know their legal team are having secret talks. I know their legal team are money hungry hawks. I know their legal team are walking bullshit walks. They push it. I can hear my sister cackling like a witch. She's rubbing hands together, stupid evil bitch. Telling lies to social workers, fucking snitch. Telling lies to Babylon, oh my, that's rich. Just get the hammer, get the spade, I'll dig the ditch. The venom's pouring from her mouth just like the shit. She pushed it. God bless you all, I know the justice will amend. God bless you all, I give you my thoughts and views to lend. God bless you all, they tried to send you round the bend. God bless you all, and overall, I am your friend. God bless you all, keep standing tall, you'll see the end. Keep pushing. The end, thank you.
Thank you, Dawn. Powerful and forthright as ever. No mincing of words there, but still serious topic, but still some humour in there. I'm still kind of laughing at the dental floss and the knives and forks. Well done, Dawn. Okay, next we've got a good friend of Writing on the Wall, Emmy Onyora. He's worked with WOW in many guises for a number of years. Emmy has loved the challenge of the course of being given a theme and then having to produce a piece of writing within 30 to 40 minutes. For Emmy, it's produced some amazing work from amazing writers. Over to you, Emmy.
Thank you very much. The first piece of writing is a story called A Memory. He strode towards me, tall and officious, looming above my head and invading my personal space. I took a step backwards in search of some respite from this overwhelming dominant presence, but not to be denied, he followed until I could feel the cold of the phone box against my back. His colleague, silent up until this point, suddenly burst into life and stood in solidarity next to his colleague, pinning me into the tiny space between the phone box and the two-man barrier that had been so hastily erected. The second man was more aggressive than his colleague as he jabbed his finger into my chest and then pointed towards some event that had taken place somewhere up the street. He repeated the same questions that the first man had asked, but with more menace in his voice. I tried to respond, but his words came thick and fast, disorientating me and panicking me in equal measure. Do you think I was born yesterday? He demanded to know. I recognized this scenario from 100 conversations with 100 teachers and searched my memory bank for an answer that would appease him and relieve me from what was rapidly turning into a frightening ordeal. I tried to speak as he repeated the question again and again, but I soon realized that nothing I said would satisfy him. The first man barked instructions and I began to comply, though apparently not quickly enough for man number two, who spun me around and slammed my 14-year-old body into the phone box, placing his knee into my back while holding both of my arms. Playing the straight man in this weird double act, he then immobilized my hands and began rifling through my pockets, pulling out the contents and tossing them casually onto the floor. The seemingly wilder one then spun me around and planted his face half an inch from mine, screaming demands and insults and drenching me with cigarette breath and spit. The straight man unfastened my trainers, took them off my feet, had a rummage round, and then tossed them aside, near to the coins, keys, and bus pass that had been discarded earlier. A car came to an abrupt halt in front of us, and two of its occupants emerged. They spoke to the double act for a minute or two before quickly turning their attention elsewhere. The straight man was calm, telling me that I was lucky, that they were doing me a favour, but that I wouldn't be so fortunate if they saw me again. I gathered my belongings, zipped up my coat and headed for home, Nobody could know about this if I was ever to be allowed to venture outside again. That was going to be the small take from a big lesson I'd learned, as somehow, far away from my 21st birthday, I'd come of age. The second piece is a poem called I Looked Down the Line and I Wondered. I looked down the line and I wondered what had happened to all that was plundered. Some marble from Greece, a Zulu spear, Egyptian cloth, the king of Benin's chair. Some sacred, some useful, some mundane, the light, the bright, the sad and profane. I stole some by chance and to order, from everywhere I crossed a border. I demanded with guns and with swords, and they happily handed me hoards. Heirlooms and keepsakes, family jewels, gold and silver, mahogany tools, items to carry and ferry with blood, shipped overseas and boxed up with wood. Their ornaments, doorposts, or for swatting a fly, with a tale of a brave man whom it had come by. Used like a donkey or sombrero from Spain, an item of exotica from a faraway plain. Then sold or donated to a willing museum, so the public can view them, observe them, and see them. Placed on a shelf in its newfound home, the note on the box says, use unknown. It belonged to the wife of a chief and a mother, whose birthright it was from her maternal grandmother. It contained their memories passed on down the throne to be placed on a shelf, use unknown. I looked down the line and I wondered, what's the story of all that was plundered? Each piece sat on a shelf or stuck to a rack. It's high time I gave all the booty back. Thank you.
Thanks, Emmy. That was brilliant. I've known Emmy for many years. I've known him as a writer. He's an excellent writer, but it was only through Time to Breathe that I realised he could also write poetry as well as factual information. And I remember when he read the first story in the group, and it was actually very painful for us to listen to. And again, that is the power of the storyteller. So well done, Emmy. Okay, next up we have Annie Kamara, who is Congo, Brazzaville born. She began writing in childhood. She writes histories, poems, dialogue, science fiction and non-fiction and much more. She's also a professional choreographer, dancer and singer. She's currently volunteering with WOW as well as 1 September. So please welcome Annie.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to read of my poem. And thank you for WOW. I will read 2 poems, one poem and one story. The first story is The Memory for Incident. I was out shopping in Liverpool when I entered a food market and began to pause. Immediately, a security man started following me. But I just finished my shopping, paid, and then left. Few minutes later, I was about to cross the road when I heard a voice. Hey, come back here. You. I didn't turn around. Carry on, ignore him. He shouted again. I turned and asked, who? Me? Yes, she replied. Why? What for? I want to charge your shopping, she said as she approached me. Show me your bag. I said, why? Why did you hear the alarm goes off when I was walking from your store? No, she admitted. And then why? Because you are black, she answered. Matter of fact, I should share your shopping. Are you doing this to everyone, to every Black person? I asked. It is a law? He didn't answer. Call the police or manager, I said, because I'm not showing you my shopping or letting you search my bag. In fact, wait a second. I have an idea. I took out my phone. I'll help you by calling the police myself. He replied with a trembling, oh, no. Please, just go. I look at him in the eyes, smiled, and then went on my way. The second one is Black Lives Matter. Who choose the color of skin before coming in this world? Who knows she want to be born black, white, yellow, green, mixed, or whatever? Who choose the country or even the continent where she will be born? Who choose to be born whether male or female? That is why Black Lives Matter. Who knows she was before coming in this world? Who knows the date she will be born or when she will die? Why are you beating, killing, mistreating, and arresting Black people, putting their life in danger for no reason? Bringing someone into your house, place, or country to be with you and to stay is to help one another with care and love. The need is reciprocal and it means a lot. That is why Black Lives Matter. We are human. Do you know how and why you are human too? Human. Do you know why there are different colors of skin in this world? Why there are many countries and continents? No, then just be happy the way you are. No one is better. We are the same. Every life is the same, like the diversity of plants, vegetable, flower, and trees. The different color of the skin contribute of the beauty of this world. Why would you want to destroy such beauty? We are each the beauty of the earth, of this world. That is why Black Lives Matter. Do not hurt Black people, and instead, go find the creator of this world. Ask him, why did you create Black people? Will you argue with him? Do not hurt Black people. For together we are the force and the beauty of the earth. That is why Black Lives Matter. This is a hand for my poem.
Brilliant. Thank you, Annie. Another excellent storyteller. The first story perfectly articulates an experience that I think a lot of Black people in Liverpool will relate to, of being followed around the shops in the Liverpool city centre. And the second one was just beautiful. Thank you. Next up, we have Hannah Gwynne. Hannah is a comic artist from Liverpool, and she found her part in the Time to Breathe programme great. She's developed her foundational skills as a writer and enjoyed freely discussing and creating creating works with a community that shares mutual understanding of core experiences. Welcome, Hannah.
Hello. The first one I'm going to read is a response to the line prompt. So just to begin. Over the tinny din of my headphones beneath my beanie, I began to discern the clamour from several faces behind me in the queue. I watched the back of the tall man stood in front of me turn tense and awkward, grey suit shoulders raised in discomfort, wide fists tightened. The staccato of sharp laughter cut through my music, and I glanced across the black nylon of the barrier that wrapped around the narrow queue, walling us in with wire mesh stands of packaging tape, pocket money toys, and cartoon greeting cards. As I monitored my surroundings, my eyes darted across the darkened floor-to-ceiling windows of the post office, where pale strangers were reflected back at me, their eyes firmly rooted to the well-trodden laminate. Fluorescent lights glowed against the sheen, emanating from phones pulled out for urgent scrolling, while the neat lines stood frozen, praying to go unnoticed, as though stillness could ensure safety. I wondered if they knew that there were more of them than him, more of us than him. I inhaled, felt my fingers curl tightly around my phone, and with a slight tap, paused the music. The barrier between myself and the world fell, plunging me into silence. The customer at the front pushed their package over the counter and shuffled away from the glass. The next person in line stepped forward. These immigrants, they just come here to sell drugs, the voice started again. It belonged to a male, not significantly older than myself. I glanced over the 2 brown envelopes cradled in the crook of my arm, and a dawning awareness crept over me that I was not the only one staring at them. Can't trust them, he continued. They should go back home. There came a laugh of acquiescence in response, followed by the awkward shuffling of someone trying to edge away. And I began to wonder if there was anyone else present who could be the subject of this cliched declaration. The ghostly white faces warped in the condensation of the window quickly confirmed that the dubious distinction was mine alone. The line stepped forward. They're all drug dealers, he reaffirmed, and they all wear hats. I turned around, where 6 steps behind me at 6 foot tall, the man's broad and derisive smirk was staring down at me, victorious. His unwilling accomplice grimaced at my acknowledgement, but while the loud voice stood alone, so did I. The line stepped forward again, and I walked up to the counter, where the woman flashed an apologetic smile from behind her bulletproof barrier, gaze averted. When I turned to leave, I could feel their eyes upon me, as they waited to exhale the tension at the sound of my departing footsteps. And the next one is a short piece as well. This one is called By the Mersey, and it begins. Despite everything, you feel like the stars have aligned. You can close your eyes and pick forms and stories of what was, what can be, from what have felt like unaligned points. Yes, the day is short and the early morning calls, but that is far, far away from you right now. Now the grass is soft against your back, the clover surrounds. You don't need to search for luck or try to pluck it from the clouds. You both lie there amongst the earth, jackets bundled into pillows, sun-warmed skin close as your quiet conversation carries on the breeze. Over the crest of the hill, the stream of the Mersey carves deep through the stone. Over the crest of her cheek, the deep blue sky arches beyond. With fingers entwined, you inhale her warmth, integrating it into your core. As the sun dips below the horizon, you part with sea of grass and each other. You keep the glow of the sun across your fingertips, the syzygy of your meeting etched deep into the spirals that define. Despite everything, you know you can return home.
Thank you, Hannah. Well done. That was brilliant. I think you give us a real sense of the different styles that we've covered, and that you've been able to master. Those images are brilliant. And in the first story, I could really hear you've got those voices down. Fantastic. Okay. Next up is Taffy Nwanza. He's originally from Zimbabwe. He works with refugees and asylum seekers and is passionate about equality and anti-racism, which are key themes which he explores in his writing. Take it away, Taffy.
Thank you very much to the conveners of this wonderful program and my fellow participants. It's been wonderful to know all of you. So I'm going to read a poem and then part of a short story. I'll start with the poem. It is called, if I can find it, of course. It is called, I Look Down the Line. So I looked down the line and I wondered, who were those men, spectral in the mist, and those women, fierce and tall as Dora Milajes? What drove them out here, out of the warmth, to shout their rage at the devil? I heard the horses snorted and pawed at the tarmac, their riders as night walkers grim and erect in saddles, shaking truncheons and shouting above the cacophony, "Stay in your places, do not move." Above the vaporous rain and the toko of a helicopter. Underneath the beam of its blinding searchlight revealed them shivering, bunched up like rats, yet still they shouted and stamped, "Tadump, tadump, tadump." I looked down the line again at men and women linked strong as a chain. And this time I wondered not at all. I knew then, as every observer here knew, that this was a moment when freedom smelled stronger than fear. So that's my poem there. Then I'm going to read part of a short story that's titled The Chongololos of Zambezi. In a field overhung by ancient and mighty mopanias, gnarly hissing trees and younger jujube saplings lived a colony of chongololos. Their patch was warm and moist, interspersed as it was with prolific and gentle streams that went back all the way to the fabled Nile. Ah, the Zambezi, the land where the rainbow and the sun came out to play at the same time like rival cousins. The land replete with the fruit that grew nowhere else. Marula that drew elephants, which left behind the mounds of their rich dung. Tamarind for the lopping dik and the greedy warthogs that wandered the valley in hordes. And loquat that lured chittering monkeys and swooping turacos. This is why just the mention of the name Zambezi caused all the other Chongololos who were not so fortunate as to be born in that escarpment to turn gray, for gray is the color of envy in the world of Chongololos. Red is the color of ill humor, although it affects only the legs of Chongololos. The color of good, undisturbed health is black, though there are variations of this, such as ashen black, which is a sort of gray, and that's not the black of good health. There's also green black, which brings gangrene to mind, while a glossy blueberry black is the thing really to be desired, which all Chongololos aspire to. Now, the Chongololos of Zambezi were the good blueberry black, the gold standard in beauty and health. And each of them boasted a zingy name that suited their temperament. There was Rabba Lolo, who was the oldest and the longest and the crawliest of all the Chongololos of Zambezi. Naturally, he was also the chief. Melanilolo was the blackest of the black Chongololos, so black that if the moon was weak, you knew he was there only by his raspy breathing, flap, flap, flap. Then there was Trampololo, the loudest, and he assumed, as all loud creatures assume, the cleverest Chongololo who ever lived. Oh, please, said Melanilolo, rolling his purple blue eyes. It ain't necessarily so. Nevertheless, Trampololo had contrived to get himself appointed to the position of assistant to the wise old chief, serving at court in the chief's borough, where important colony matters were decided. There was Hussein Nololo, the fastest Chongololo to ever tread land, and to watch him move was as thrilling as watching the silent moon traverse the vast domed sky of a dark African night. There was also Shampololo, who loved pleasure and ease and was consequently the plumpest and roundest Chongololo you ever saw. In no small part, of course, because he only ever ate tomatoes. Then there was Buyalolo and Endalolo, the twins, who could never agree on anything. If a mopane tree dropped a nice succulent leaf and one brother said, yum, the other was sure to say, ew, yuck, needs a little rotting first. It was all very Jacob and Esau with those two. They simply never agreed on anything. Now, the very naming of the Chongololos of Zambezi had been established by Zongololo, the big chief, whose eggs spawned the entire Chongololo family and who by this time had long since been gathered up to Amazonia, the big heaven for Chongololos, from where he watched the fortunes of his children, mostly with pride, but sometimes with grave concern. One day, as the sun shivered on the horizon in a last dance before slipping into its bedchamber, the Chongololos of Zambezi quarreled. It was by no means their first quarrel, but this one was particularly fierce, the type that turns Chongololo legs red and causes cyanide to rise from the nostrils in a steam like a boiling kettle. On and on it raged, still blazing by the time the stars had retreated and the new moon had arrived. The cause of the quarrel was the arrival in their midst of a Chongololo from across the Zambezi, who looked the same in every respect, except for the fact that he was as white as a ghost. He had absolutely no pigment. You could see right into his soul. He will introduce disease to our community, said Melanilolo, wheezing. Fala, fala, fala. He will gobble up all the good nutrients and there simply won't be enough to go around, said Shampololo, his mind firmly fixed on the terrifying prospect of his beloved tomatoes running out. Our little ones will starve. They do things differently wherever it is that he comes from. They are filthy. They breed like rabbits. They are uncultured. And they can't even sing, said Trampololo in his loudest and whiniest voice. There were murmurs of assent and some shouts of things like keep Zambezi for Zambezians and close the blooming floodgates already and go home, Whitey. I will stop there.
Thank you, Taffy. You've really transported us out of Liverpool tonight, I'd say, with that wonderful story. And, you know, lines like freedom smells stronger than fear. Incredible. That's one that will definitely stay with me. Well done. I'm going to speed things up a little bit now. We've got two more writers to hear from. Next is Katrina Patterson. She is WOW's project worker and designer. She has a master's degree in screenwriting and she enjoys writing historical and horror pieces. Come on, Katrina.
Hi, I'm Katrina and I'm project worker and designer at Writing on the Wall. I had the privilege of working on the Time to Breathe project and wrote in response to Sheryl Martin's prompts each week. This is my piece, Under the Radar. Take a stand. I get it, it's hard. You try to play it down, reason it off. Different experiences, places, upbringings, but it's no excuse. Small town in Leeds, the only black person you've seen in days is yourself. It's funny. You can feel how proud of you your granddad would be, owning that part of your heritage after many years of being told about it, about yourself, about who you are. It's laughable, realising in your own skin how defensive you can be over a colour no one can see. Sometimes it feels like you've got it easy. In fact, you know you have. A black heritage in white skin. You can pick and choose, and no one would even realise. But tonight you can't choose. Tonight you can't go under the radar. Tonight there's no mixed race or a quarter. Tonight you're black, and you feel it. It's a new world you haven't seen before. They're drunk beyond belief, making jokes, teasing one another. This is when that word slips from their mouths. It hurts. Whether you don't look it or are only a quarter, you feel the twang of pain, cutting as deep as it can, because it's still you, a whole part of you. They don't know, you reason. If they did, they wouldn't say it. You bite your tongue harder than you imagined was possible, trying to push the feeling down inside of yourself. You go home. You'll rant about it later, wishing that through all these years you'd spoken up louder. Thank you. Hi.
Wow, that's the first time I've actually heard that poem, and I'm absolutely blown away. Thank you, Katrina, for sharing it with us. It covers an important and very relevant topic, one that's much discussed at the moment. Thanks for that. Okay, finally, last but never least, we have Dom John, who is a poet and rapper. He writes about mixed race experiences, social issues, and mental health. So take it away, Dom John.
This first poem is called I Looked Down the Line. I looked down the line and I wondered, will we have change or will we still be marching? We see ourselves choked to death. We protest peacefully. We see ourselves shot in our own homes, in our own beds. We protest peacefully. As we see ourselves being killed through your general hatred, generational hatred repeatedly, and we still protest peacefully. Go ahead, tell me about my own experience, looking like a dumbass thinking you're teaching me. Biting my tongue, I could make you look thick as pig shit easily. It'd be nothing to point out where you don't know what you're talking about. How you think Black Lives Matter is ridiculous when you say, I'm sorry, it's just a reality. We all face racial and gender disparities. Here you go with the so-called big words again. It's amazing how you spout every word you're able to pronounce from that dictionary. Meanwhile, nothing intelligent comes out of your mouth. Dom, I want to write a period fiction. It's about blah, blah, blah. And I want to have a slave character that killed his master, who's been captured and put on a boat with the main character. Jack, shut the fuck up. No, Dom, I'm taking inspiration from the slave character from you. I've called him Johnny. No, seriously, Jack, shut the fuck up. Firstly, a slave killing his master and trying to escape the plantation wouldn't be thrown on a boat to prison. You're setting me a story in America. If he was found, he wouldn't be living. And you want to call him Johnny May? Are you kidding? Listen, don't use my family name for your black sidekick. Are you having a laugh? Is this a joke? Cut you out of my life. I looked down the line and I saw hope. The next poem is called What is Your Perfect Paradise? I'm stuck in a place. Fear's got me paralyzed because I overanalyze. In my dreams, I escape to my paradise. Yeah, warm weather and a bright sky lit by the flame of the sun. That's part of it, not half of it. A world where police ain't aiming a gun or tasering us. We hear it so much we're not even shocked. A world where people don't ask me Where I'm from, like I'm a Martian, or ask me why I'm a marching, like why are you starting? I'm tired of the talking. I try being cautious. My paradise is where I can be myself, uncensored, happy 24/7, re-energized by 420, where I don't have to worry about money, where I don't have to get anywhere in a hurry, where I don't have to run this rat race, where I'm not working myself into the ground, where I don't have to say I got a better job to make my granddad proud, where I don't feel like I have to self-deprecate when people mock or laugh at us, joking about you owe how we owe your ancestors for saving us when they captured us. My perfect paradise is where you don't chat to us like a piece of shit or chewy on the bottom of your shoe. My perfect paradise is where I don't have to put up with bullshit from you. And the final one I'll be reading is called The Bully's Rap. Lying in the ken, waiting for food. Let out one by one, they don't take us in groups. Removing our pride, shave us. You say you love us, should have seen through the lies. Seen the smile, should have preyed the disguise. Because after I've stretched my legs, you switch and scream at me with rage, telling me to get back in me cage. I'm nothing to you, but it means to get paid, kid. If I be too loud, I get a crack, I get weighed in. I am not instigating, but it's me whose limbs are aching. Hoping he'll be careless one night and let us out as a group. If he hits me again, I won't just bark, I'll bite. I've had enough, that's the truth. Bite so deep into his skin, I got blood on me tooth. But if he gets me back in me cage, every time I'm let out, I'm going for his neck now, so we better keep his head down because I won't stop until I get out. It ain't enough to just get a stretch now. I'm sick of walking with my head down. I need to escape this hell. I don't care if it's through death now. You look at me, you don't see a life, but see a check. If I be too loud, you see a threat. Held in two types of cages or kept on a leash, will I be free in death? It ain't suicide, I'm fighting for my freedom. So if this is my last stand, best start believing you're getting a beating before I'm leaving. Thank you.
Thank you, Dom. Brilliant poetry and really well delivered, as you do every time. Thank you very much. So we've come, Dom was our last reader, and I think you will agree what an incredible bunch these writers are, incredibly talented and very, very relevant. And you can see how proud Sheryl is of the group, and I think that they are going to go very far with their writing and with their performances. And as I say, the book will be produced in the new year, so keep an eye out for that. It will be all over our social media pages when it's ready. Also, to mention another book, Patrick Graham, who you heard from right at the beginning, his recently published children's book, Three Little Jamaicans, is available. I bought one yesterday for my grandchildren, and I'd highly recommend it if you still need some Christmas presents for the little ones. That's available on Amazon or from our local news shop, our local independent bookstore, News from Nowhere. If you're in Liverpool, try and support News from Nowhere. Okay, before I say my thanks, we've got an extra treat, if you like, in store for you. We're going to play out with a film, and it's a production by Tamitas Theatre and filmed by First Take, two of our cultural partners in Liverpool. And it's a production that centres on Buster Nugent's one-man protest on Printers Park gates, and I thought it was very, very relevant to our readings tonight and what we've been talking about. So we're going to play out on that. So stick around and watch it. It's an incredibly powerful piece. But before we do, I would just like to thank our funders for all the work that's gone on the writing block. That's the Regional Mayors Fund, Steve Morgan Foundation, and Reaching Communities. And they've made the What Your Story projects possible. And I think it's been money well spent. The feedback we've had from the work on the writer's block has been phenomenal. One participant said it was a real lifesaver during these difficult times. So thank you to funders. Huge thank you to Sheryl. She's been brilliant. And thank you and congratulations to all of the readers. It's not easy reading your work in public. It's you're exposing yourself, and it's not easy looking at yourself on your computer screen while you're doing it. You all did brilliantly tonight. Really well done. And finally, thank you to all those who have joined us tonight, and from everyone at Writing on the Wall, our staff and trustees. I'd just like to wish you all a fantastic festive season. There will be a feedback form for you to complete, and if you want to donate to Writing on the Wall and keep the work that we do going, please do so. But for now, good night.
After the events of what happened in the United States, I woke up in a rage, a burning, a game. It's a rage that never goes away. It's been there since I was maybe 5 years of age. It's been with me when I was a teenager. It's been with me when I was a young man. It's been with me all my life. It never goes. It never goes. And like, I don't want all my young black sisters and brothers going through that rage. It's not nice to carry. It's not nice to carry. So we need to like come together and work it out. And you know what? I'm not a speaker of any of these scriptures. This is so emotional for me. You just don't know. Thank you. I never thought, like from one man, so many have come forward for me. I can't breathe.
Say her name. Say her name. Say her name. Say her name.